Hello, welcome ladies and gentlemen, Don Spector here. Today with an headphone review I have for you the HarmonicDyne Athena. Yes, I have been having this for a long time, but I actually moved and then it was in a box and a lot of things happened. So now I finally can manage the review. And yeah, this is how it's coming in a nice big box, and you would open it on the top here. And let me just do that. And then you get greeted by this nice blue box, and yeah, this is definitively feeling well made. You can see the cardboard is also thick enough, and we have the metallic logo on top. This is feeling very nice and also very unique with the color scheme. On the back, as usually is the case, you have the specification also printed in silver here, and the opening is actually magnetic flap, so I like that. And then it also says here Athena and wired hi-fi headphone, and you open this up like this. There's thick foam on the right side here where my thumb is, and then here you get greeted with the coin. Thick foam all around the headphone. You get a coin here which tells your serial number, and then you get the accessories, which generally are really good. You do get a 6.5 to 3.5 adapter, a carrying pouch that is like suede but feels very nice, and then manual, of course, and last but not least, I think we start then also the actual review with the cable and yeah, the small flap here. So generally this presentation feels very nice, and it way more expensive than this product actually is. So in my books, that's a positive thing, at least when the rest of the quality doesn't suffer through the big package. But yeah, the cable, as you can see here, is 4 thick cores with a very thick plug at the bottom here. Like, this is really like finger thick, but it feels still, yeah, light enough because it's aluminium, and you have a strain release that actually works. And generally, this was now stuck in the case for like, I don't know, like 3 months. I don't know how long I have this. So it does look a bit tangly now, but if you just give it a short like this, it gets smooth very fast again, and it generally feels like a really nice cable. Like, this is 4 thicker cores, the waving here is nicely done, it's like smooth enough, has a strain release, and when we come on top here, let's go a bit up, you get this thick splitter that also isn't too heavy because it's aluminium. And when we come more on top, where you have like 2 twisted cables here that are also smooth, and then on top here 3.5mm connectors with also like thick aluminium that fits the general aesthetic here. This is generally a nice cable. Like, this is probably the best out of the box cable I've had with any headphone so far, and for less than 200 bucks for this, I think this is a very nice purchase in terms of just what cable you get. And then I think we have to talk about the headphone build, and yep, here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Athena, and if you have seen one HarmonicDyne, I think you've seen all of them. They kind of all fit the same build, I want to say, where you have the headband here, you have the moving mechanism at the left and the right, the completely 180 degrees swivel around ear cups, and yeah, then in grill here. So it's basically all the same. The difference between the Athena and the Zeus or the Zeus Elite is, yeah, but this one here uses plastic caps and this like plexiglass at the back here. And as you can see, it collects fingerprints like crazy. So I'm not the greatest fan of this, but at least it looks unique compared to the others. And it also helps that we have the same plexiglass inlet here. So that generally is nice, and it fits the aesthetic. Other than that, yeah, the swivel itself here is working well, and the clamp I think could actually be a bit more on my head, which is on the bigger side of things. The bottom here could use a bit more pressure to actually get there, but it's fine overall in terms of how this swivels and bends. And as you can see all around, this is semi-open back, and yeah, it's semi-open back. You have vents all around, and about this we talk later. And there's an L&R indicator here, and you have an actual sliding mechanism. It's the only thing that I can tell you they improved over the years. The first one, the Helios, was a bit flimsy in this one here. Now this is actually sliding like smooth enough, but still has good resistance, like with each click. And it doesn't feel flimsy at all here. Also, the actual padding here on top is thick enough. It's like, I wouldn't say half a centimeter, but it's soft. And it generally does help to alleviate the pressure pretty damn good. And then I think already brings us to, oh no, wait, last but not least, the 3.5mm connector here is unfortunately angled downwards or very slightly forward only. So here would be slight improvement suggestion. Put the connector not here, but here. Let it come off a bit more to the front. That definitively helps later on with putting this on your head. And yep, next let's talk about comfort and fit. As already said, it could use a bit more clamp to be on your head. So the bottom actually does also seal, which it now doesn't. And other than this, you have hybrid pads that are kind of suede here. And then on the inside, fake leather with a few holes. Generally fits me pretty comfortably because also the pads are on the softer side and they're thick enough. The issue with what I would see here is that you can see the outlet here is kind of squarish. That means you have less space for ears, and if you have bigger ears, this could be problematic. Wasn't for me, but could be for you. Yeah, but overall, I think this is fine, especially because this is also like flipping like this, and it's extended enough. So it's okay. I didn't have much issues overall with comfort and fit. And then isolation. Yep, this is semi-open back, as it already said, so isolation is not the best. Like, it's fine for at home, like it blocks noises a bit, but it's really semi-open. So it's not really closed at all, and you will hear most things happening around you. And it means also people around you will hear what music you hear. So it's not great for the office either. Home office was fine. And then drivability. Yeah, this has 34 ohms at 116 decibels. So it's pretty efficient on paper, and yeah, in real life, on my dongle, on my laptop or wherever, it did absolutely fine. Like, I didn't have to crank up the power, it didn't need more power, and I think actually on like maybe not the absolute cheapest dongle, but the clean Apple dongles give you enough. You get like 90% of this capability with your random dongle. If you have a good amp, maybe, yeah, maybe it gets a bit better, but not a lot, and you don't actually need it to drive this. And then, yeah, let's come to sound and general sound characteristics. On the graph, as you can see now, yeah, this is what you would probably describe as a, I'm not entirely sure how to be polite here. It's definitively more brightish, and you would say it's bright. But if you actually listen to it, it has a bit more warmth than you'd expect, so I would describe it sounds more like a V-shape to me, but a more warm V-shape. And then we start with treble. Yeah, it does extend past 10K, not the greatest, but it does, so you have some decent trailing ends and some decent leading edge there. And generally it comes off as also reasonably detailed here. Multivitamin juice from Ovane was fine, not the greatest, not the worst, absolutely okay. And I think the problem is, if you're sensitive to upper treble, there's a peak somewhere. My rig showed it in the different measurements I took at I think like 12 or 13K, but it's not accurate there. But there is a peak there to my ear as well, somewhere, and this could be problematic for you. Same as the peak that my rig shows at 8K, which to my ear is more 9K. So my ear does tell me, or like my pinner pushes the peak to 9K. That means I did not have sibilants, but your pinner can very well have it at 8K, and that means this can come off as very sibilant. And yes, you can see this peak is definitively measurable in like all kinds of variations here, and it can come off as generally bright, especially because where you want to usually to have the most pinner gain at 3K is not really pronounced here that much, and that then means generally it's more mid to upper treble, or like mid-treble forward here, and comes off as generally bright and slightly off in terms of timbre in the treble here, but it's not bad, like it's just not the best I've heard. And yeah, this generally means also if you are a bit more treble sensitive, right, this is probably not a thing for you, because yeah, it has 5K energy, it has 8K energy, and it's really, it's kinda okay. And then we come to lower treble, and yeah, this is, my unit at least has lower treble and upper mids. I will already tell you now, VSG's unit from Tech Power Up, he received something that has basically no upper mids and lower treble, and I'm not sure like what is going on there, but mine has. And that means yeah, female vocals were not lost. Like they were okay. I've heard definitely better pronounced there, but they are fine overall. And yeah, then in the mids, you can see the dip here at like 1K respectively. With the other measurements I took, were at like 1.5K. This is audible, but it doesn't like make the sound absolutely bad. Again, this just measures worse than it actually sounds in real life. And to my ear, it just gives the vocals a bit of an like light hollowness. Like they don't sound as well pronounced as you would want them. The timbre is a bit off, but it's really not as bad at all. And yeah, when we go through the mids after that, and yeah, they are basically flat until the roll-off in the bass. So it usually, to my ear, this comes off as a bit more warm overall, and it sounds, yeah, a bit more V-shaped. Like the bass is definitely a bit more prominent here. And yeah, that means if you have a vocalist that you usually like, it's fine here. It's not the best, but it's not worst. And if you have bass guitars, those usually come off as well-defined, having a good body to them, and yeah, just worked absolutely fine. After the Rain, my classic benchmark track here is like kind of a Japanese fusion track, well-defined, nice tonality, a tad forward, but really not bad at all, and yeah, just enjoyable. And yeah, bass, as the graph indicates, there's slightly more bass than what neutral would call for. But I'm not sure if this is the driver or generally the tuning. It does come off as generally a bit more bassy than you would measure. So to my ear, this has a bass shelf of at least like 4 to 5 decibels, but it only measures for more like 2 or 3 decibels. So I think that's a good thing. Like it comes off as more punchy than it directly is according to measurement. And the worst thing I can say is probably the roll-off. Yep, that is audible. Interstellar's Mountains, again my benchmark track, where you have a deep bass note that starts at like 50 Hertz and then goes all the way to 20 at like 2 minutes 13 starting to like 2 minutes 16. Yeah, the roll-off is audible and it manages only 2 minutes 13, like on high volume, 2 minutes 14, and then it's completely gone. So it's not great for sub bass, but it's also not the worst. Like you still have some sub bass in here. And yeah, overall bass though is enjoyable with the Athena here, and I didn't have any problems with it whatsoever. Yeah. And then Soundstage layering and imaging. Make it short. Yeah, the Soundstage here is not bad. Like it does not lack height or width. It's totally fine and acceptable for a price at this, for a headphone at this price point. Layering though, yeah, it's mostly 3 blobs, but who cares? Like the imaging and the Soundstage is still pretty good, so it's fine out there. Although I would say the imaging on the bias is probably a bit better to my memory, but I don't have one to compare right here at the moment. And then separation dynamic coherence. I mean, it's a single dynamic over here, so generally it is relatively dynamic. Not the most dynamic, but still well executed, and I didn't have any problems with it whatsoever. I would say, well, compared to the DT880, but I still have somewhat in my mind over 990, I think this is more dynamic than the biodynamics. And yeah, coherence, as you can see in the graph, like it's okay, could be better, and overall timbre is slightly on the more metallic side, probably because it's more bright, but it's not bad at all and doesn't come off as absolutely metallic. And yeah, separation is okay, like at this price point, it's totally acceptable. And then let's quickly talk about the thing that I told you we will talk about later, the white thing that I have put on here. So, this is the Zeos Mod. Yep, I met Zeos in CanJam and told him that the HarmonicDyne Zeus Elite was hot garbage because it has a really strong 8K that also results at 8K to my ear. So he told me, oh yeah, you know, like Athena, blah blah blah, and yeah, put blue tag on top. There ain't no blue tag in Germany, or at least not that I've ever seen or found, but we have this from Uhu, it's like a glue company. This is kind of the same stuff, so I put that on top. And Zeos, and I quote him here, oh yeah, just put some blue tag on top of the vent and it makes it way better, exclamation mark, indirectly. Well, he didn't say it exactly in that words, but he meant it like that. Completely new headphone is kind of what he implied with this, and I gave it a try, and I'm not fully on with you here, Zeos. It does make the headphone better. Like, let's get out of the way. This makes it, according to graph, definitively more V-shaped, and it helps a tiny bit with the super bright treble. But still, like, this is not fixing the Athena. Like, you still have the dips, they are still present, and like, is still not the greatest tuning out there. But it makes it better to my ear, because the bass is a bit more forward than treble is a tiny bit dampened. It still offers a bit peaky overall and a bit grainy, like probably worse than without the additional blocked vent at the top. But if you have the Athena, or if you want it, I actually would recommend doing the Zeos Mod and putting something on top, so you get a bit more bass, make it a bit more V-shaped, and yeah, it just makes it overall a bit more enjoyable overall. And when we come to the verdict, as my headline already says, I think this is HarmonicDyne's best so far. The Zeus wasn't as good, the Helios wasn't as good, the Zeus Elite wasn't as good, and while this one, I think, strikes the best of them so far at its price point, though, I'm just not sure if I can recommend it. Because, as said before, VSG's review, as you can see on his, like, I will just link it below in the description, like, his unit did not have any upper mids whatsoever, like, they were just gone, and lower treble also not so well pronounced, and then it just had mid treble, so I'm not sure of how the QC with the Athena is overall. And also, adding to this, Zeos is working on a Zeos Athena version. I'm not sure when that is coming, but he's working on that, and maybe that will be better. I have no clue. I assume he's just doing some pad rolling and using the Zeos Mod on top here to see how that sounds. But yeah, adding to this, again, as I said, like, the general, like, not so well balanced treble here with the dips when in the mid. So I think while this is certainly HarmonicDyne's best work so far, I don't feel comfortable recommending it. It is fine, like, you can be happy with this headphone, absolutely, and the accessories and like, the cable is really nice, and the build quality is also absolutely fine, but I just don't feel comfortable, if you're not comfortable recommending it overall. And yeah, that's basically it. Like, it's a decent headphone, but is not, like, it just struggles to be good enough. So, yeah, again, if you have some questions, if you have criticisms, if you have recommendations, please leave a comment. Don Spector out.